distance, in the days of Babylon, and I am myself again. But he has been chivalrous always. If the slothful, indolent creature I used to be has improved in any way, I owe it all to him. I am slipping back in many ways, but I am determined not to slip back altogether, in memory of him and his island. That is why I insisted on your telling Brocklehurst. He can break our engagement if he chooses.
Proudly.
Mary Lazenby is going to play the game.
But, my dear—
Lord Brocklehurst is announced. Meaningly.
Father dear, oughtn't you to be dressing?
Very unhappy.
the fact is, before I go, I want to say—
Loam, if you don't mind, I wish very specially to have a word with Mary before dinner.
But—
Yes, father.
She induces him to go, and thus courageously faces Lord Brocklehurst to hear her fate.
I am ready, George.
Who is so agitated that she ought to see he is thinking not of her but of himself.
It is a painful matter. I wish I could have spared you this, Mary.
Please go on.
In common fairness, of course, this should be remembered, that 2 years had elapsed. You and I had no reason to believe that we should ever meet again.
This is more considerate than she had expected. Softening.
I was so lost to the world, George.
With a groan.
At the same time, the thing is utterly and absolutely inexcusable.
Recovering her hauteur.
Oh?
And so I have already said to mother.
Disdaining him.
You have told her?
Certainly, Mary, certainly. I tell mother everything.
Curling her lip.
And what did she say?
To tell the truth, mother rather pooh-poohed the whole affair.
Incredulous.
Lady Brocklehurst pooh-poohed the whole affair?
She said, Mary and I will have a good laugh over this.
Outraged.
George, your mother is a hateful, depraved old woman.
Mary!
Turning away.
Laugh indeed, when it will always be such a pain to me.
With strange humility.
If only you would let me bear all the pain, Mary.
Who is taken aback.
George, I think you are the noblest man.
She is touched, and gives him both her hands. Unfortunately, he simpers.
She was a pretty little thing.
She stares, but he marches to his doom.
Not beautiful, like you. I assure you it was the merest flirtation. There were a few letters, but we've got them back. It was all owing to the boat being so late at Calais. You see, she had such large, helpless eyes.
Fixing him.
George, when you lunched with father today at the club?
I didn't. He wired me that he couldn't come.
With a tremor.
But he wrote you.
No.
A bird singing in her breast.
You haven't seen him since?
No.
She is saved. Is he to be let off also? Not at all. She bears down on him like a ship of war.
George, who and what is this woman?
Cowering.
She is, the shame of it, a lady's maid.
Properly horrified.
A what?
A lady's maid. A mere servant, Mary.
Lady Mary whirls round so that he shall not see her face.
I first met her at this house when you were entertaining the servants. So you see, it was largely your father's fault.
Looking him up and down.
A lady's maid?
Degraded.
Her name was Fisher.
My maid?
With open hands.
Can you forgive me, Mary?
Oh, George, George!
Mother urged me not to tell you anything about it, but—
From her heart.
I am so glad you told me.
You see, there was nothing wrong in it.
Thinking perhaps of another incident.
No, indeed.
Inclined to simper again.
And she behaved awfully well. She quite saw that it was because the boat was late. I suppose the glamour to a girl in service of a man in high position—
Glamour. Yes, yes, that was it.
Mother says that a girl in such circumstances is to be excused if she loses her head.
Impulsively.
Oh, George, I am so sorry if I said anything against your mother. I am sure she is the dearest old thing.
In calm waters at last.
Of course, for women of our class, she has a very different standard.
Grown tiny.
Of course.
You see, knowing how good a woman she is herself, she was naturally anxious that I should marry someone like her. That is what has made her watch your conduct so jealously, Mary.
Hurriedly thinking things out.
I know. I think, George, that before your mother comes I should like to say a word to father.
Nervously.
About this?
Oh, no, I shan't tell him of this. About something else.
And you do forgive me, Mary?
Smiling on him.
Yes, yes. I am sure the boat was very late, George.
Earnestly.
It really was.
I am even relieved to know that you are not quite perfect, dear.
She rests her hands on his shoulders. She has a moment of contrition.
George, when we are married, we shall try to be not an entirely frivolous couple, won't we? We must endeavour to be of some little use, dear.
The ass.
Noblesse oblige.
Haunted by the phrases of a better man.
Mary Lazenby is determined to play the game, George.
Perhaps she adds to herself, except just this once. A kiss closes this episode of the two lovers, and soon after the departure of Lady Mary, the Countess of Brocklehurst is announced. She is a very formidable old lady.
Alone, George?
Mother, I told her all. She has behaved magnificently.
Who has not shared his fears.
Silly boy.
She casts a supercilious eye on the island trophies.
So these are the wonders they brought back with them. Gone away to dry her eyes, I suppose.
Proud of his mate.
She didn't cry, Mother.
No,
She reflects.
you're quite right. I wouldn't have cried. Cold. Icy, yes, that was it.
Who has not often contradicted her.
I assure you, Mother, that wasn't it at all. She forgave me at once.
Opening her eyes sharply to the full.
Oh!
She was awfully nice about the boat being late. She even said she was relieved to find that I wasn't quite perfect.
Pouncing.
She said that.
She really did.
I mean, I wouldn't. Now, if I had said that, what would have made me say it?
Suspiciously.
George, is Mary all we think her?
With unexpected spirit.
If she wasn't, Mother, you would know it.
Hold your tongue, boy. We don't really know what happened on that island.
You were reading the book all morning.
How can I be sure that the book is true?
They all talk of it as true.
How do I know that they are not lying?
Why should they lie?
Why shouldn't they?
She reflects again.
If I had been wrecked on an island, I think it highly probable that I should have lied when I came back. Weren't some servants with them?
Crichton the butler.
He is surprised to see her ring the bell.
Why, Mother, you're not going to...
Yes, I am.
Pointedly.
George, watch whether Crichton begins any of his answers to my questions with, "The fact is,"
Why?
because that is usually the beginning of a lie.
As Crichton opens the door.
Mother, you can't do these things in other people's houses.
Coolly to Crichton.
It was I who rang.
Surveying him through her eyeglass.
So you are one of the castaways, Crichton?
Yes, my lady.
Delightful book Mr. Woolley has written about your adventures.
Crichton bows.
Don't you think so?
I have not read it, my lady.
Odd that they should not have presented you with a copy.
Presumably, Crichton is no reader.
By the way, Crichton, were there any books on the island?
I had one, my lady. Henley's Poems.
Never heard of him.
Crichton again bows. Who has not heard of him either?
I think you were not the only servant wrecked.
There was a young woman, my lady.
I want to see her.
Crichton bows but remains.
Fetch her up.
He goes. Almost standing up to his mother.
This is scandalous.
Defining her position.
I am a mother.
Catherine and Agatha enter in dazzling confections,